Hello, welcome. This is Edtech News. I'm Andy Howie from OpenELMS.
And I'm Emil Reisser-Weston.
Every week we go through what's actually happened across EdTech, L&D and AI, the funding, the policy, the product news, the research. Throw out most of it and keep the handful worth your time. It's an update and it's our thoughts on it. Not a script, not an agreed line. Where we land on this stuff, we tend to land live. Now, this week we're going to be covering a number of items, including OpenAI ships an education stack. 4 of the biggest names in AI walk out of Google DeepMind on the same day. And the EU's disclosure rules went live on Sunday while everyone was watching a different deadline. So, let's crack straight on. One of the first things we touched on there was OpenAI launches free education plugins to standardize agentic AI workflows in schools and universities. So the headline here that OpenAI has launched 3 specialized education plugins, K-12 Educator, College Educator, and College Student across ChatGPT EDU, ChatGPT for Teachers, and Codex. So these free packages combine role-specific skills, apps, and guided workflows around user-selected course materials within institution-managed workspaces. So, is this just a classic platform lock-in strategy? What do we think, Emil?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. I mean, I think, what obviously they're looking at what Google have done with Google Classroom and try to replicate that in their own infrastructure. I think it's a good move for them. I mean, I think increasingly we're going to see these AI platforms come with functionality that will lock people in, and particularly with education. We've seen that's already OpenAI's strategy has been to try to lock people in. Approaching university students in order to get to use it before they join organizations, which may not work. But I think this is good. I mean, this is a set of tools which professors, teachers can use to create websites, leaderboards and stuff like that. Various stuff that again, it's like Google Classroom. It's not a learning management system, but it's learning management system light. So there's elements of an LMS inside it. I mean, I think it's a good strategy. I mean, it's a relatively low cost for them in comparison to all the other things they spend their money on. And I think that this is definitely the way forward if you're going to get people to use your system long term.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think if you look at things like, I mean, it's not quite the same thing, but even when the internet came out and then Google and all these things, like there was a number of like website searches and a number of tools out there that people were like getting used to at the time, going, oh, I use this, I use that. And then eventually it filtered down into kind of like people just used 1 or 2, 3 things. And maybe this is just OpenAI's way of saying, look, we need to get ahead of this and we need to eventually have it so that people kind of just come to us by default, certainly within the education spectrum, so that then it's like, oh, well, it's just kind of by default. A bit like when you go for a search, you go Google, right? So they're probably thinking, right, well, when they're using LLMs, you're going to default to ChatGPT. Maybe something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess it's akin to the portal strategy of the late 90s, where all the .coms were and early noughties where .coms were trying to produce portals because they thought people were never going to change their home screen on an internet browser. People are more flexible with that, and we've seen that in the AI works space, that people are using different models for different things. I think that's really the big threat. So although this is a good strategy, whether it's going to make any long-term difference, I don't know. I mean, I think I always
time
say,
will tell. Yeah,
I always say the Chinese models and Google are going to win out in the end.
Fair enough. Okay, so next one here, EU AI Act transparency duties go live as education high-risk deadline shifts to 2027. So the broadcast headline here is the EU AI Act transparency duties take effect for chatbots and synthetic media, while high-risk education obligations shift to December 2027. So mandatory disclosure and content marking obligations under the EU AI Act officially took effect on August the 2nd for all chatbots, deepfakes, and synthetic media served to EU users, while enterprise buyers focused on the high-risk AI classification deadline for education and employment has been deferred to December the 2nd, 2027. So the transparency requirements apply immediately to any learning provider or corporate enterprise operating in the EU market. So the deadline everyone prepared for moved, but the one that nobody discussed went live.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah. I think that the thing that really snuck under the radar is that we as education providers who are providing content produced with AI, not by AI, but with AI, do need to label that clearly. So if you're producing content which has a AI generated voice, which basically, I'd say 95% of our courses now have AI generated voiceovers on them. We have to mark that out clearly to our clients, and we will do that. I think it's a good thing. I mean, I think there's a big issue in the EdTech arena about AI generated content and what that actually means. I think if we're clear and honest about it, then I think it will be beneficial. I mean, what we do is we produce content. We get human moderators to validate that and sign that content off. And then we use AI to check that content every 3 months, or even shorter if it's mission critical. And if there's anything wrong that's not legislation compliant, etc., it will flag that to us. And then a human moderator intervenes. There's always a human moderator involved.
Yes.
Now, there's a difference between doing that and then basically just producing AI slop. Like, I don't know, those videos you get. Here I am in Pompeii. The things going behind me. That's pure AI slop content. It's got its place. I mean, I find them quite fun, to be honest. But I think we have to be clear about what is AI generated solely and what is partially generated. I think this will help clarify.
There's a difference as well between, AI slop for entertainment purposes, which people can sort of watch, find funny, amusing, have on reels or whatever. But then AI used for genuine educational or learning and development purposes. I think there is a dividing line there, and I think it does need to be quite clear. Otherwise, we do run the risk of not having, just any old stuff out there. So I think it is important. The human in the loop aspect is something that we've talked about, not just yourself on your podcast. I've talked about it with countless people around the world on the podcasts, in terms of the importance of that right now. I don't think it's ever been more important that, humans are on top of this and not just letting AI just take the lead. I think on it, either at the very beginning in terms of what you're actually trying to get out, and at the very end, you need to have humans in there, and in the middle, you need humans to check that everything's doing it's supposed to be doing. So AI is hugely beneficial, but it also requires genuine human capability to make sure it's doing correctly. Okay, next one here. So executive departures trigger Alphabet stock drop despite CEO memo claiming AI momentum. The broadcast headline here is that Alphabet shares fall around 5% following senior AI exits as Google restructures DeepMind leadership. So the headline summary is that Alphabet stock dropped roughly 5% after 4 senior technical AI leaders departed Google DeepMind on the same day. The exits, which included both technical leads of the product line, being handed to newly appointed SVP Corey Kavakoglu, overshadowed CEO Sundar Pichai's internal memo framing the reorganization as AI momentum. So the memo says momentum, the share price said something else, and Google's own announcement named 2 of the 4 people who left. So executive restructuring cannot mask core engineering brain drain. What do we think?
Yeah, I mean, the big name in this is Demis Habbousis and his new role as it's scientific lead or something at Google, something like that. It's sort of reminiscent of the head of search type lead. It's a title they give to people who are very important, but don't necessarily want to get involved in the business side of things. I think Demis is he was really the guy that started this whole momentum into AI, and all these other all the other Silicon Valley venture capitalists have sort of jumped on other models which have basically been derived from the work that he personally started and his team did. So he's the brain in the room. I think this is a genuine move, to be honest. I think I've been following Demis for about 10, 12 years now, and he's an honest guy, and I think what he's doing is basically he probably just doesn't want to have the pressure of being in that position anymore. He wants to focus purely on the AGI. It's interesting that they're still talking about AGI though, because I thought, no one's really been mentioning that for a while.
Yeah.
Artificial general intelligence. I think so they're sort of edging there in a very natural way anyway. But that was mentioned. But I think he basically doesn't want to be in a position whereby, he could misspeak and then suddenly $1 billion could be wiped off the share price of Alphabet. That must be a very, very high pressure job. And I think he probably just needs to focus on what he really enjoys. And he's got enough money. So, I think it's just a general realignment of someone who's basically a bit tired and his team probably want to cash in and start enjoying their lives, I'd imagine.
Very possible. And you probably do want to be able to say things without fear of repercussions from, stock prices, shareholders and things like that.
Yeah.
And also it could be, we spoke about it briefly last week, but that, there is a general moving quite consistently across Silicon Valley of people in their roles. And we see it quite a lot, 1 month they're over here, 2 months later they're over there. Everyone's scrambling for the talent and trying to sort of, now I'm not saying this has happened in this case, but we do see these kind of things happen quite consistently now, whether people just leaving positions or indeed be taken up by other companies who need their talent,
Yeah, I mean, DeepMind has rotated staff around Silicon Valley with these ridiculous salaries they've all been offered. I mean, it just happens. It's the nature of the beast. But yeah, I don't think there's too much to read into this with regards to Google's approach with AI. I think it's still gonna roll on.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so next one on here, UK rewrites national digital skill standards for AI era alongside 287 million protocol capital injection. So the broadcast headline here is that the UK Department for Education updates national digital skill standards to mandate AI literacy in adult learning. The DFE officially updated the National Essential Digital Skill Standards on August the 5th, 2026, embedding AI literacy and automated tool evaluation across post-16 adult education. The policy update was delivered alongside a 287 million capital funding package to create over 22,000 additional training places across 87 college projects. So national qualifications are adjusting to workplace AI realities by embedding AI literacy into adult digital standards. The UK government is forcing commercial training providers, community colleges and enterprise upskilling vendors to update their accredited courseware. Corporate L&D software vendors that align their platforms with these new statutory AI standards will gain a competitive edge in securing government-funded adult education contracts. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's needed. I'm surprised of the lack of not AI prompting knowledge and experience that graduates have come to us with before joining the company. So yeah, it's definitely something that's needed. I mean, we've had computer science graduates who have no idea how to write code. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So we can have people at the apprenticeship level, 16-year-olds starting to learn this stuff. It's very good. It'd be interesting to see what the content involves.
Sure.
I think there's nothing that will replace good underlying knowledge of writing, English, comprehension, critical thinking, all those great things which education gives us. So that firm foundation needs to be there before we can really hit home. But yeah, people need to know how to prompt. It's not difficult.
Yeah.
It really is not difficult.
I agree. I mean, we had a podcast this week. It'll be out next week with the CEO of Youth Unemployment UK, who been very prominent across all political parliamentary groups, very influential in the sense of, there's 1 million young people not in education, employment and training. We've got a huge problem in this country, and I think globally, generally, with young people who are, disillusioned, disenfranchised, can't seemingly get themselves on the economic routeways. Hopefully something like this, and I'm not saying this is the answer, I think potentially it's part of a solution, a wider solution that's required, where becoming a more rounded, skilled individual, certainly around digital literacy and AI, as part of a wider framework, is well overdue. Young people need to understand how they're going to influence and become suitable for roles that are out there right now. And you can't, if you go in with one specialty, you're going to be struggling. You come in with a rounded group of skills that you can then apply yourself to different projects, then you're going to be much more employable. So I think something like this is genuinely a good thing. But as you say, you'll be interested to see how that actually plays out. Who's responsible for this? What things are they going to be covering? All of this stuff still a little bit, woolly at this point, but I think just generally the thought of it is certainly very welcome.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so next one here. Socratic AI startup Wild Zebra raises $6 million to challenge foundational AI models. Edtech startup Wild Zebra secures $6 million to scale Socratic AI learning engine across consumer and institutional markets. So Wild Zebra are basically treating the frontier large language model providers as underlying commodity suppliers rather than direct competitors. This transaction proves to venture investors that specialized software layers with custom pedagogical guardrails, longitudinal data tracking, and established institutional distribution channels can capture value and command high pricing despite the availability of cheap foundational models. What are we thinking on this one?
I don't think there's anything new in that. Yeah, we do. Everyone is using the foundational models to apply it to their business and creating products or creating edtech products. There's nothing new in that. Using AI for Socratic learning is something that is vital. I mean, and I think there's you're going to see a huge movement in that in learning systems, from these catalog-based systems to systems which are teaching you. I mean, certainly, what we're doing is we're producing a system which you can start without any learning in it at all, and you basically just say, I want to do this. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a software engineer in whatever. And it will then produce the content for you, and then take you on that journey, and then share that content with other people in the organization who've got the same skills and goals, aspirations. So that's part of it. They've raised $6 million. Well done. I don't know what exactly it's for. I mean, the fact that they're focusing on maths and reading is there could be some specialist knowledge and specialist software training that is needed to do that. But maybe that's all in the fundamental in those foundation models anyway. I don't know. It's a story. Someone's raised money.
And they will continue to do so. Okay, coming towards the end now. So corporate L&D, SAS automates slide-based content creation as enterprise demand expands. So workplace learning platforms deploy slide-native AI tools to speed corporate course development. Workplace learning software provider iSpring Solutions has expanded its generative AI suite to automatically convert raw corporate documentation into slide-based training courses with synthetic voice narration as enterprise demand for rapid workplace training tools accelerates. Now, tell me why this is a news item, Emil.
Hello, 2023.
I was going to say, why is this even out there as something that's?
It's obviously it's the Edtech news line via they produced a new product which uses AI. Fantastic, great. There are lots of systems out. All I would say is basically go and have a look what's on the market. Captivate and particularly Articulate, they are basically XML editors. You can edit XML in anything, and there's lots of systems out there. We obviously sell OpenAI's Learning Generator. That's something that's been out there since 2022, end of 2022. These things evolve. These things evolve with the evolution of AI and what they can do. So, knowledge checks, interactions, voiceover, video presenters, all these lovely things, custom graphics, virtual learning worlds, podcasts, all these things, video game exports, all these things have come over time. So yeah, you can very easily create an AI generated e-learning course development system. But where they've been for the last 3 years is the question I'd ask. Why is this only just coming out now? I don't know.
That I cannot answer. Maybe they can.
Yeah.
But look, that's it for today. We will be back next week. We have, obviously, things move fast. They always do in the EdTech world. So I'm sure next week we may revisit some of this stuff as it starts to unravel, but I'm sure we'll have some more news items to keep you updated. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much.